Welcome to We Build Great Apartment Communities, the only show dedicated to the process and strategies for transforming apartment buildings to thriving communities. I am your host, John Brackett, and welcome to the show. All right, folks, welcome to another great episode of We Build Great Apartment Communities, the only place where you can come to learn how to take apartment buildings and turn them into amazing communities. I have here a great guest. His name is Michael Ealy. I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen him, heard of him, but this is going to be a really unique opportunity because Mike's in a lot of different things. But Mike has been strategic enough to position himself, I think about 5 months ago, for the hotel industry and the hotel opportunities. So he is being very tactical about how he's pursuing opportunities in that space. He owns roughly 1,000 apartment units in different parts of the country, predominantly out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So I'm going to introduce him formally, and then we're going to transition. But I think this is going to be a great way to invite our audience into this conversation. So Mike Ealy has developed Nassau Investments into one of the key development firms in Cincinnati area. And over an extensive 20-year period, Mr. Ealy has applied his knowledge of property and asset management to negotiate several hundred successful real estate transactions. So Mike's strength is identifying the right projects, developing a clear vision, and then putting together the right team to specifically execute on each project. So, Mike, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, brother, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate having you on. So there's a lot to talk about, but I want to talk about some things that I think are going to be relevant to this market, but also that are going to help people think a little differently about profits. And I know that's one of the areas that you have built a lot of experience in over the years. So talk to us a little bit, Mike, about how you got started in this business, and then we'll transition into how you accelerated your growth of your portfolio.
So, man, it was simple, man. Started back in 1999, man. I didn't have much money. Call it house hacking, but I just got me a two-family and got me a roommate. And I thought life was great, man. I started living rent-free, man. $500. The mortgage was $700. I rented the top floor for $500. Got a roommate. He paid me $200. The rest was history, man. That was it. So I mean, and then I started buying about 2 4-families with no money down, cash back at closing, and I kept doing it over and over. And then I bought 2 full service car washes with that. And then lost it all like in 2003. So the rise and fall really quick. And I would love to blame it on 9/11, but that didn't have nothing to do with it. That was just simply not budgeting, reserving, operating efficiently.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you saying that, right? Because I think as entrepreneurs, the minute we stop taking ownership of the decisions that we make, we're already at a disadvantage. But that's probably why you have been able to grow now so quickly. So what was the biggest catalyst that allowed you to expand so quickly to 1,000 units?
Man, I wish I could say that was quickly.
well, okay, let me take quickly out, okay? So, when you look back on that run, okay, what do you think were maybe the top 3 things that in retrospect really allowed you to assemble the portfolio that you have today?
No, I mean, it took a period of time, but then all of a sudden it was quickly, like overnight. Because I remember when I was looking and I barely had $1,000 in my bank account. So, and that was about to be gone quickly then. It was networking. One of the big key things. I continued to network and talk to people, and I taught classes. I actually taught real estate classes.
Interesting.
And through that, I started meeting people, and it was like, Mike, this is great information you're teaching. I love it, but you know what? This is too much work. I don't want to do it. I got $500,000 in my IRA. Let's put some deals together, and that was it. I was like unrequested, unsolicited.
Interesting. So, Mike, I know that one of your strengths is finding great opportunities, right? Uncovering the golden nuggets, man. Uncovering the golden nuggets. And so at the beginning of the show, you and I talked a little bit about some of the nuggets that you're starting to uncover. in the hospitality space. So before we get into that, though, can you talk a little bit about what attracted you to multifamily real estate? Okay, and what are some of the nuggets that you're seeing right now inside of this market that we're in?
Yeah, so first of all, what attracted me to multifamily, it was simply cash flow. Like, one, the idea of living rent free. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, for most people, if you don't have a car payment or no mortgage or rent payment, like, man, you are balling out of control, right? I'm like, you think you Biggie Smalls,
Oh,
baby.
I
You
love
think you
that, man.
Biggie.
I love that. I love that.
No
I love that.
condo payment, no car payment. You know, I mean,
Uh,
no, I mean, that was one, but I studied and, and I saw multiple people doing businesses where they're buying junk bonds on the stock market and real estate. And real estate was just, first of all, real story how I got to real estate. I really wanted to invest in the stock market. And at the time, I was about 15, 16 years old, they had junk bonds was the thing to invest in. But the minimum investment was $50,000. And so when I saw the book, I literally looked at it and put it back on the shelf. I was like, man, I ain't got $2 to my name. And I saw Robert Allen, No Money Down in the 90s. And that was it. I was like, I can do that. You just got to be creative, think out of the box, use OPM. And to this day, I'm using these same principles on my large multi-million dollar deals that I did on a two-family. Nothing different except the commas, baby. Commas, ooh, the commas make a difference.
I like that, man. The commas do make a difference, don't they?
Yeah, but there's no difference. You understand?
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. The strategies are the same. Now you've added a couple more zeros.
What pushed me into bigger deals, I had the opportunity. One of my buddies, Yona Weiss, says, your net worth is based on your network, right?
Right.
And so my network, I saw were doing big things. Man, I was happened to be part of community council, one of 7 neighborhoods in uptown Cincinnati that was getting redeveloped, putting billions of dollars in it. And because of that, I got to meet everybody. I got to meet all the developers. I mean, the big guys is doing, and look, you guys think I'm doing something. Man, I'm piddly squat, brother. Like, I know my place, but these guys, 20, $50 million deals on a regular basis. Like, that's just what they do.
Right.
Like, it's an everyday conversation. And I'm meeting these guys like, oh my gosh, like, I'm trying to keep my tongue and my brains together. But what I saw was these guys are doing $50, $100 million development, and they were having the same issues that me and you would have. Contractor wasn't showing up for work. The leasing agent wasn't leasing on time. They have a contract to sell a condo, but the project ain't done, so they lose a buyer. Somebody stole, at the time, copper out of the building, right?
Sure.
These are, and you think like, wait a minute, this is a $50 million, $100 million project. Why are you having these issues? It's like, it ain't nothing different. I mean, there's more I got to deal with. But when it was all said and done, they had the same issues, a bigger project, a little more time consuming, but they were walking away with $1 million to $10 million a deal, where I'm doing this little $50,000, $70,000 deal, and I'm walking away with $5,000, $15,000. I was like, wait a minute, well, I'm going to do all the same amount of work almost and have the same issues. I might as well do this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's what pushed me. And I wish I could say that, like, it was all these great things and I dreamed. No, I wanted to make money and I saw people making money. And literally, I just saw how they were living. I was like, I want that. And, I was doing good in the multifamily, but I bought a lot when I first started. I started in D and F neighborhoods, and people don't know what that is. That's like the war zone, low income. And I was doing low income tax credit and subsidized buildings and a great cash flow. I know you probably won't get better cash flow, better returns. Like, I was buying stuff, and I know it's really unheard of now, but I was buying stuff like a 15, 18, 20 caps. Like, unheard of, just ridiculous, right? People, I would mention it back then. They were like, you're crazy. You can't do that. I was like, dude, I do it all the time. And literally, I have a 28 unit building where 4 units, 5 units pay all my expenses. Life was good, but it was rough, man. Like people not paying rent, you're a psychologist. Like it's more maintenance, more management intensive.
Hence the 20 cap. A lot of people don't understand what's behind the 20 cap, man. So you have an opportunity, Mike, to share.
Well, it just literally. my man came to see me, man. Famous artist, man, came downtown, dropping one of his famous pictures off to me. And I swear, man, he was only in for like 1 minute. And boom! Somebody shot his back window out. I was like, I mean, I can't write these stories, man. Man, but like, I was hungry, man. I was just hungry to make it. I saw that as my opportunity because, like, literally, it was given to me on the platter, and I seized it. But what happened, I started off in those neighborhoods, and I gradually moved up into the C and B neighborhoods. And moving up there was like moving into heaven, man. Like people paying, they call you to be like, hey, I'm going to be late with my rent. And you're like, what's late? And, they call you on the 30th. They call you on the 30th, like, I'm going to have it in on the 2nd. I was like, don't let that happen again. Where my old building, for you that don't really get it, like my other building, they used to call me what in November, December, like, Mr. Mike, I'm gonna be late with my rent. And he'd be like, okay, well, what's late? It was like February. I was like, well, damn. I'll pay you when I get my tax return.
Oh man, so when you started operating C&B product, it just different world, huh, Mike?
Oh man, it's a different world, different ball game, man. And like once you get into B and A properties, it's easier for people to manage. And that was one of the things, man. I was getting older and cash flow was great, but I was like, man, I need more time with the fam. And I was like, man, if I were to check out of here, I can't leave this stuff to them. Like, it takes a special person to manage these D and F properties, man.
Agreed.
I mean, it really does.
Agreed. Yeah.
It really does.
Not only to manage them, though, but to convert them as well, right? I mean, that's just the different skill set, different level of resolve. So I completely get that.
Skill set, if you want to call it that.
So okay, let's transition, okay? And man, I really appreciate the perspective because when you talk about a 20 or 18, 20 cap property, a lot of people don't understand that you're paying, when you're buying into 20 cap, you're also buying into everything behind that, right?
You truly get what you pay for.
It is definitely, there's definitely a higher level of risk associated with that, right? Okay, so what are some of the economic trends that you're seeing right now in the multifamily space? Because you have a unique opportunity, right, where you're also managing your own product. You venture with a lot of different investors as well. Okay, you have your own portfolio, so you get to see a lot. And now you're expanding into the hospitality space. So you're seeing things from a couple different vantage points. So now when we're COVID-19, right? So based on what you've been learning and studying and preparing yourself for over the last couple of months, what are some of the economic trends that you're seeing that maybe excite you or keep you up at night for that matter?
The exciting part, man, woo, you're going to see a lot of discounts in this hospitality game, man. It's exciting. I'm not going to front, like, just to give you a small idea, just like small, well, in comparison, but let's say on a $10 million deal. And if you were to acquire a hotel, typically you would need to bring 30% down, right? So that would be $3 million. Then you need reserves and you might have some renovations, right? To get this $14, $15 million value. So you're out just on the low side, $3.5 million to get into the deal. That's number one. And then at least me, I push for a 3x multiplier on return on equity for the entire project, where some people will take it at a 2.1, 2.5. I like to get my investors back at 2x. And I think that's kind of standard. Some people do different. I like anywhere from 6 to 10% cash on cash, mid-teens IRR. In a 5 year, they double their money with cash flow and return. And so getting in a regular hotel, that's 3.5, 4 million in. I'm going in now with the opportunity of acquiring these hotels, assuming the existing debt, non-recourse. So meaning we can just walk away and we're all in for $1 million or less. And we're picky about it. And so that's what's attractive about these deals. And the big thing is when I say it's $1 million, really, I'm assuming it at probably, I don't know, less than 10%. Because if you do a CMBS debt, you got to pay some fees back. They may want the loan current, they may not. Just certain fees, legal fees, et cetera. And the rest of the money is really for reserves. And all we're betting on is, hey, I believe realistically by March, April, we'll start having an uptick. And an uptick, not a major like we were in 2019, but a slight uptick where now hotels are breaking even. And at that point, when they're breaking even, man, life is good because you're no longer funding it. And slowly we'll see this slow rise of the hotel. And over a 2.5 period, it'll get back to 2019 and then you exit. And then you're going to have, because there's going to be such a demand, we'll have inflation, which means your ADR / average daily rate would increase. Interest rates are going to continue to stay down for a while so the economy can come back. But when you got rates going down, values go up. And so timing is everything.
Assuming jobs go up.
All of the above. So potentially you have a lot of people that could be losing their jobs. You have so many different moratoriums going on that should be out of in January, and what they call this helicopter money from the government. I don't know if the government's going to give more money to prop people up again, but soon it's going to all come tumbling down, and hotels is going to be a major opportunity. Now, without a doubt, part of that market is not going to come back. That's just reality. In every cycle, especially a recession, you lose part of the market, like 9/11. The airline industry has never been the same, right? And ever since 9/11, you see multiple mergers because they just never got back to real business. And the same thing is going to happen here. Now, the one thing I'm concerned, I really believe there's going to be a lot of apartments that would be lagging in this and houses because of foreclosure. But I'm not so sure now. Like, yes, I do believe people will be in default because people are losing jobs and people that did the marginal deals for apartments, right? They didn't have enough room for corrections. They didn't have enough rooms for reserves, and they can't lease it, and they're not managing. So you got that terrible storm put together. They're going to fall apart. But there's so much money on the sideline, unless you got a direct contact with the bank or that individual. I don't know if that we're going to see the kind of discounts we saw in the Great Recession unless the banks stop lending. Now, if the banks stop lending, which is possible because they're only making 2%, 2.3, 2.5% on their money, they may try to hold out. So if the government puts a moratorium, I know this, we're going all over the place, but that's one of the key things. If now the banks stop lending, then man, unfortunately, in a great way, there's going to be a firestorm and we're going to be picking up houses for pennies on the dollar, apartments, businesses, etc.
Yeah.
But there's so much money on the sideline now. I mean, I know a couple of people that went to apartment conferences. They were real estate brokers. And they was like, dude, these are 10 different brokers. It was like, man, we sat with 20, 30 different people. And it was like, man, all of them said they had anywhere from 5 million to 70 million, 100 million on the sidelines ready to go to buy. And I was like, y'all sure y'all want to talk to the same people?
Yeah.
That's why I say, because I've seen some deals where the hotels, they should be selling at extreme discount. They did, but it was, well, marginal in a way. Like it was selling at 30% discount, which is a discount, but I would assume it would have been much steeper than that.
Well, I think the other side of that too, though, Mike, is that we have a lot of folks that have gone through 2008, 9, and 10. And so you just have a lot more experience out there going through a cycle like this. And I think that's why we're seeing some of the adjustments being made right now, not only by the Fed, but by the banks, right? Everybody was really,
Yes, that's right.
proactive. But what always gets me, though, is that no one really talks about the job market, which to me is, man, it's just a little bit concerning because in 2008 to 2019, it took literally 10 years to create 8 million jobs. Those jobs are not going to come back in 12 months, man. And they're not going to come back in 6 months. And so you and I talked a little earlier. You said, hey, I think this thing is going to last for probably 2 to 3 years. And I agree. I think right now we're in an environment that's being artificially propped up. And my hope is that we can move through this. But realistically, we can only sustain the current trajectory if our employment base begins to hire again, right? But hire long-term income producing, reoccurring jobs.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's right.
it's going to be very interesting. But I think one thing that we all can agree on is that in markets like this, it's great to have working capital, right?
Without a doubt.
Price in a 2-year time window. I think you should be able to weather through some storms and it makes sense to take advantage of opportunities. Is that how you're approaching some of your deals right now? I mean, you're pricing in. I know your lenders are likely requiring you to have some working capital in there, right? In your reserve requirements. In their case, they're reserving for their mortgage. But when you're going in and you're looking at an investment opportunity with real estate and a business component associated with it, how are you accounting for a 2-year risk window, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're budgeting for the worst, man. Like, although I think we're going to see an uptick within 6 months, we're still budgeting for 12 to 18 months. I can't say. So, I know you asked me earlier what keeps you up at night. Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned. Like, I'm putting real money out there, but I know what history's done. I went through the Great Recession. That's really what got me into multi-units. And I saw what happened in the hotel market as well. And quite frankly, I didn't think I would see an opportunity like this again in my lifetime. In fact, I would tell people in my pitch, we were talking about like, well, what happens if we have another Great Recession? And I'm like, man, seriously, this true story. My pitch was like, well, hey, that's a great question, great idea, but the reality is those are things that only happen once in a lifetime. I mean, history repeats itself. I was like, the Great Depression. I don't know how old you are, but that didn't happen in my life. There was the Great Recession. Now, don't get me wrong, we have the savings and loans and we have multiple corrections, .com, et cetera, but nothing of that magnitude. And then it was like, so if something really happens on that level, I think we're all in trouble. And
right.
Here comes COVID and we're all in trouble.
Right. I think my hope is that we move through this at the same pace that we are now, right? But I just don't think that's going to happen that smoothly. But I do understand and I do acknowledge, man, that there's a decent amount of capital on the sidelines this time. Everybody a little bit more prepared to deal with this, I think, from a couple of different viewpoints. So I know that that's going to help prop things up probably a little better than the past. So here's a question for you, Mike. Let's talk a little bit about the most profitable multifamily investment you've ever underwritten and then closed on, because I think that's going to talk a little bit about how you look at deals and your ability to uncover, man, golden nuggets, right? And look at opportunity very differently than probably a lot of people.
Yeah, so I'll just tell you a couple of deals, man.
Sure.
One of our first ones, we kind of ventured together. There was a 48 unit in the west side of town. And it was during the Great Recession. We didn't know too much about multi-units. Matter of fact, all I knew was cash on cash. I knew nothing about internal rate return, nothing about cap rate, nothing about escrowing for taxes. I didn't know any of it. I was like, that's a deal. And we found this deal. It was a 48 unit, and they were selling it for like 220. This for basic math, and in summary, it was selling for $4,000 a door. I was like, dude, we need to get this and wholesale it, because we were wholesaling and buying it whole, but it was bigger. That wasn't really what we were doing. Excuse me. And so My partner Nate was like, nah, man, we're going to keep it. I was like, we going to keep it? He said, yeah, we can handle that. I was like, okay. Like, we had no idea. Like, it was really that simple. I was like, dude, we can flip this for 600, make 300-400 real quick, bro. Nah, we're going to keep it. I said, bet. One of the greatest learning experiences ever, man. But I held on to it for 5 years, and everything worked like clockwork. Like, I couldn't did this any better. He was like, Mike, I'm gonna handle the renovations. You do the leasing. That's not a problem. What I do, baby. So when we got it, they only had 8 tenants, 32 vacant, and 8 of those units were gutted down to the stud. My buddy starts renovating, clearing stuff up, and he's moving right along. And this is when I'm thinking outside the box. I didn't go the standard leasing. I was like, how am I going to lease this? And I called up a government program. And I was like, yo, man, you got any 10-inch? Because that's why I remember I started in the low income. So I had a different way of leasing. I didn't do everything the standard way. I ended up getting that thing leased off of one phone call. I made a couple calls, but it was one phone call. They rented all 32 of my units, paid me first month's rent and deposit all up front, and we weren't even done yet. I was like, I'm done, bro. I did my job.
So you went back to your partner and you said, hey, I'm done. It's all leased up, and I got first month's rent and deposits. What did he say?
I'm going to Florida, baby. No, man, we up and got the construction done, and we held on 5 years, but I learned a lot of things. Like, we were so busy on cutting costs and things like that, but some of the things is you just do it right the first time. Like, if you got a kitchen cabinet, right, and it's leaking a little bit, or the wood is rotted out a little bit, man, rip it out, replace it. Not saying replace the plumbing all the way through the wall, but put new plumbing fixtures, because what's going to happen is you bootleg it. Ain't no other way to say it. You bootleg it, right? Rig it up, put it back together. It's clean. It works. But what's going to happen 6 months from now, a year from now, that same tenant's going to call. It's going to be leaking for so long because you didn't know. They didn't tell you. They didn't call you. Now the whole thing's rotted out. Now you got to order a whole new cabinet. You're already busy doing something else, where if you were to snatch that out, you could have had a little maintenance and replace the screw, and life is good. Where now you got a tenant complaining they were out water or whatever. They didn't have the right vanity in stock, right? So all these different things. Even the water heaters. Don't get caught on a commercial water heater on a Saturday night, bro. Like, they replaced it. Oh, man, we can work on that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, man, replace it. If it look old, man, get rid of it. It's probably old and don't work, because have a commercial water heater break and you're not escrowing or putting reserves together, and you calling on a Saturday trying to find one. So you shut down on Sunday. Nobody's got hot water. You're calling on Monday. You can't pay for it because you ain't got no money. But just so I'm regressing here. But anyway, I sold that. We were all in for 400. We sold it for like 1.6. And that was my first deal. I netted $1 million cash right off the rip. But then we kept doing it again and again and again. I'm like, every year I start during that Great Recession, I was buying 1 and 2, and we start partnering up with people, and we were finding deals. The values were slowly going up. Remember, I bought that at 4. Then I found something at 8 a door. Then I found something at 12 a door. Then 14 a door. And then I was like, dude, we got to stop. It's not going to be worth anything. I was like, the most it's going to be worth is 29 a door. Man, 32 a door, 34 a door, 36 a door, 38 a door. Now we're looking at 50 a door in C neighborhoods. I was like, this is ridiculous.
So demand. So here's a question, Mike. What has been the greatest challenge that you've run into with an apartment building? Okay. And then the biggest lesson learned, right, that you've been able to apply forward in how you purchase now?
I mean, like I said, I can tell you a whole bunch of things, but one of the big things, just don't be cheap. Fix it right then and there, man. Don't be like, oh, I can save money here. No. Budget for it and replace it. Make sure you put reserves. Like, one of the things that put a lot of people out of business, and myself, I didn't know anything. First of all, I didn't have people that did real estate around me. So I kind of learned on my own and watched. But what you have to do is escrow. I know some of you like listen like that's simple, but no, everybody doesn't know that. Just like your mom saved for a rainy day, literally escrow for your taxes monthly, escrow for your insurance monthly, whether you make it a monthly bill or escrow for reserve for CapEx expenses every day. And life will be so much better if you do those three things.
Yeah.
Because let's say you got a turnover. If you kept escrowing, you know what? You're not taking away from your cash flow. You're collecting your monthly distribution, but you're using reserves to keep your cash flow going and to keep your building going. And you're being profitable. And so, if anything, the biggest thing is always escrow and reserves, always fix budget to replace those things up front. Don't be like, oh, we can do this and we'll do it later. Don't do it. Now, I understand if you're just starting and you got minimum capital, you got to work with what you got, baby. I get it. But budget, and if you don't know, man, I was kind of stubborn. I didn't want to take classes. Oh, it's not that I didn't want to take classes. I just thought that was expensive. I appreciate not taking those classes, right? Because now I know why you shouldn't do something. But I mean,
I call that, man, the master's degree in making mistakes, man.
I mean, my failures were my education, man. And now
Right.
That's why I do great deals, because I like, man, I ain't doing that again. Because I remember not collecting the check. Man, I'm telling you, everybody like, oh, it's another thing. People want to buy deals and like, oh, it's going to appreciate and we'll make money in year 4 or 5. Oh, hell no. Damn that. That deal's done when you buy it. When I do my deals, when I close, I make money. The next month, I'm making money. When I'm not collecting a check, I'm getting double, triple the next 3 or 4 months later. So buy it right. Be patient. Don't be greedy. And look, man, you don't have to work with everybody, man. Everybody's not. You need to make sure you guys' goals are aligned, because if your goals are not aligned, partnering in deals is like a marriage.
It really is. Yeah, it is.
And yeah, and y'all gonna have disagreements because you agree to disagree.
Right.
And I know it's so crazy, but like, you want to be able to be in an argument and feel confident that your partner's not trying to leave you. Okay. I know you never heard that,
hey, right? Classic, man. Classic. But hey, it's a valid comment, right? And there's a lot of truth behind that, because I think one of the skill sets that really will allow you to separate yourself in this space is your ability to be able to not only identify the right partners, but also to lead people, right? And know how to be led in many cases, because that's an important skill, man. That's an important skill. Otherwise, man, things just start breaking down.
Yeah.
Mike, I got to tell you what, man, we're at the end of the show. You've been a great guest.
Oh, man. Jeez.
A lot of insight shared. Really appreciate having you on. I want to ask you, what is the one question that you have of me that you think can add some value to our audience? And then I'm going to ask you to share how people get in touch with you.
Man, I mean, what's your superhero power, man?
My superhero power.
Yeah, bro.
You know what? It's so funny, man. Someone was asking me, actually, no, a buddy of mine, Eric Upchurch. He said, hey, this is my superhero power. And I've never heard anyone say that. I go, man, I kind of like that. No one's ever asked me that, though. But that was the first time I heard that. I don't know about a superhero power, but I think one of the things that I'm good at is just finding a way, man, to get to the finish line. That is my mark. Is just, I can find a way to always get to the finish line, irrespective of the obstacle. So long as I believe in what that opportunity is or what the objective is, just getting to the finish line, man.
That's so powerful, because you know what? People have so many great ideas, so many songs that literally, that when they died, the song or the idea was buried with them in the grave, because they had nobody able to take them to the finish line. And that's an amazing skill to have, because so many people are fearful.
Right.
And if you can see it, you can believe it, you can run with it and get them there, get them to their financial destination, their paradise. And that is a major power that people will say that about me, like, you just go ahead and do it. You're just not scared of it. I was like, not that I'm not afraid. I've seen bad. And that bad don't look so bad.
That's good, man. That's good. But, all jokes aside, I mean, that was built over, just to your point, many years of recognizing that when it's all said and done, someone has to be willing to get to the finish line, right?
That's
and
right.
What I tell my kids is I always say, look, I know a lot of really sharp people, but I also know a lot of really sharp people that don't do much, predominantly because they're not taking action. So I give them a really simple formula, right? I say, okay, this is the formula that I raise them on, is mindset plus skill set plus action equals success. As long as you're doing those things, the success will come. The only thing that you have to turn up to magnify the success is your effort. If you want a lot of success, then you got to turn up the effort, right? The effort.
You got it, baby. You got it.
Quantify that. So I really appreciate the question, man. Thank you for sharing that and for asking that. So what is the best way, Mike, for people to get in touch with you?
So you can always find me on LinkedIn, Michael Ealy. And then I'm on Instagram. Is that Mike Ealy Nassau? I got to check myself, I think I'm Mike Ealy Nassau. Yeah, and then you can catch me on my website, NassauInvests.com. You can always catch me there. Yeah, Mike Ealy Nassau on Instagram. I have a lot of great times out there. And if you're interested in a book, we wrote a book on investing in apartments where I share all my secrets, my success stories, my failures, the mindset, how to find deals, how to look deals, from broketomillions.com. It's our book.
We'll add that to all the show.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I'm easy to find, brother. I just thank you so much for having me.
Look forward to connecting and doing some work together and sharing some stories. And man, I appreciate you being on. You've been a tremendous guest. And I want to wish you continued success. And I will talk to you very soon.
You got it, brother. Talk to you.
Thank you, man. Clarity of purpose creates our greatest competitive advantage. When we transform apartment buildings to thriving communities, we improve how people live and create assets with high profit margins. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this up with a friend. I'm John Brackett, bringing you things you can implement right away.